something's off here, folks. It just doesn't add up. There's definitely more to the story, and it doesn't pass the smell test. This is a topic I've been itching to dive into. As most of you know, I've been under the weather for about a week and a half. During that time, I had to hit pause on publishing videos because, well, I couldn't even speak. My voice completely gave out. I'm feeling much better now, almost back to normal, with just a lingering cough, though my voice still isn't quite 100%. But I couldn't wait any longer to address this because it's just too good to ignore. You know where all this nonsense is coming from? A toxic Bitcoin maximalist, of course. You've heard of Michael Saylor, right? The founder of Strategy now, because apparently shorter is cooler in tech. Anyway, this guy's loaded and had the nerve to call XRP a scam. Classic. Oh, and let's not forget his hot take during the SEC lawsuit declaring XRP a security. Real profound stuff there. Meanwhile, Ripple gets dragged and our community takes the heat. Gotta love the wisdom from the so-called expert. Since 2012, Ripple has stood out as one of the most transparent players in the crypto space, consistently open about their operations and XRP holdings. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Ripple's commitment to full transparency is undeniable, from their XRP treasury to every move they make. Now, let's compare that to Michael Saylor. Something just doesn't add up here. It doesn't pass the sniff test. What's going on? Here's the kicker. Saylor has zero interest in proof of reserves. He's one of the biggest Bitcoin holders on the entire planet. Seriously, what does this company even have now? Somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 Bitcoin. That's about as much as the US and China combined, or maybe even more. It's an absolutely insane amount, but how are they pulling this off? And honestly, why wouldn't they? If cryptography works, and it does, and the Bitcoin blockchain is sound, then what's the issue here? The irony is hard to miss, though. These are the same people who've been dragging Ripple through the mud, calling it shady, a scam, a bad faith actor. Yet those same voices are out here defending something like this. They're standing by obfuscation and a lack of transparency in crypto, as long as it applies to Bitcoin. Funny, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. There's this video that surfaced on January 23rd, 2019. And if you've been part of the community for a while, chances are you've seen it. It made quite the rounds back then. It captures a classic exchange that's become pretty iconic in our circles. On one side, you've got Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, and on the other, Ethereum co-founder and Consensus founder Joe Lubin. It's a fascinating moment in crypto history with two industry heavyweights going head to head. If you missed it, it's definitely worth a watch. So, he decided to take a shot at Brad Garlinghouse for selling XRP. Let me share this gem with you. I found a transcription of the key moment on Reddit, and I have to read it to you. It's fascinating stuff. Joe Lubin went all in, openly trashing Ripple and Garlinghouse right to his face. He was that confident. But here's the kicker. When the exact same question was flipped back on him, he completely unraveled. It was as if the thought of his own argument being used against him had never even crossed his mind. The sheer irony is both hilarious and mind-blowing. This moment is pure gold, one of my favorite clips in all of crypto history. It's so public, so awkward, and so utterly satisfying to watch. Let me walk you through it. You're going to love this. Back in 2019, Joe Lubin had some pointed words. He said, XRP is a value token that trades on an open market, but imagine if the CFTC noticed you own 60% of the silver supply. How comfortable would they be? Enter Brad Garlinghouse, ready to set the record straight. I won't speak for the CFTC, he replied. We've escrowed 55% of all XRP we own. We can't sell it. We can't touch it. So realistically, we only own 13%. But before Brad could continue, Joe interjected, but you do sell it, don't you? You sell it into the market. Brad, unfazed, responded, we're very transparent about that. Ripple has been publishing quarterly market reports, and even though we've scaled that back, transparency remains key. What followed was a lively exchange showcasing two strong viewpoints in the crypto space. They recently stopped publishing that particular report, but for years it had been their way of staying transparent. Through it, they openly disclosed how much XRP they were selling, whether it was programmatic or at an institutional level. It was all out in the open. Then comes Joe Lubin, fully aware of this, yet he asks, but you sell it regularly, right? Don't you sell it into the market? Brad calmly responds, we're very transparent about that. How much do you sell? And that's when things got interesting. Lubin hesitated, stumbled, and finally muttered, when necessary, followed by an awkwardly long pause. Brad didn't miss a beat. He jumped in, completely catching Lubin off guard. The exchange was so unexpected, so raw, that it instantly became one of those moments you can't help but replay. Brad emphasized a key point. Transparency in this market is critical. He's right. For the industry to truly evolve, openness is non-negotiable. Ripple has worked hard to set the standard, leading by example. But let's be honest. There are ecosystems out there shrouded in mystery, and that's bad news for everyone, Ripple included. Without transparency, the entire industry suffers. And you know what? Ripple has always been the adult in the room when it comes to crypto. Now that it's 2025, it's good to see more grown-ups joining the conversation. Back then, there weren't as many players in the space. Ripple always managed to stand out. Fast forward a few minutes into the video, and Robert Hackett, the moderator, posed a bold question. Joe, it's been said you're one of the biggest ETH holders. How do you balance managing both consensus treasury and your personal stash? Lubin's response, a chuckle, followed by a sly, I guess no comment. And he insists he's not a major holder. Yet everyone knows they're sitting on a mountain of ETH. So when asked, he just laughed and said, no comment. The audacity. He even calls out Brad Garlinghouse to his face, accusing him of selling into the market. But then the tables turn. Even the moderator steps in, asking, so how do you handle your treasuries? Cue the awkward pause, followed by another no comment. Seriously, the irony here is off the charts. You see the same kind of ridiculous behavior in the Bitcoin community too. Here's the thing. I support Bitcoin, even though it's arguably the most outdated crypto ever created. It's clunky, not exactly cutting edge, but I'm still on board with it. That said, I can't align myself with the Bitcoin community. The toxicity is off the charts. It's full of maximalists who refuse to see beyond their narrow perspective. And honestly, it's unbearable. Not everyone in the community is like that, of course. I'm not here to generalize, but let's just say I'm in no hurry to call myself a part of that group. It's like a cult, the negativity and closed-mindedness. No thanks. Thankfully, you don't see this kind of behavior in the XRP community. It's a breath of fresh air by comparison. We like to think independently around here. So let's dive into this headline from Cointelegraph. Saylor says on-chain proof of reserves a bad idea due to security risks. Michael Saylor. Yes, that Michael Saylor strikes again. Am I surprised? Not really. It's more like a figure of speech thing. Of course, I can believe this. The guy's the executive chair of Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, a major Bitcoin player, and now he's claiming that institutions posting on-chain proof of reserves is a risky move that could compromise security. At the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Vegas on May 26th, he even called the current method of publishing proof of reserves insecure. Hypocrites, am I right? Honestly, I'm just glad I get to talk about this now. Not like it was breaking news or anything, but hey, it's definitely a juicy topic worth digging into. Here's another gem from Saylor. It actually dilutes the security of the issuer, the custodians, the exchanges, and the investors. Ouch. Not just a bad idea, a terrible one. And honestly, isn't it ironic? A public blockchain, and yet this guy. So the less we reveal, the better. Oh, sure. Makes total sense, right? You know who nailed this perfectly? Chart analyst Dom over at TraderView 2. His take on this, absolutely spot on. Check it out. He's referencing a clip I won't play here, but the gist, a couple of guys grilling Michael Saylor, and his response, well, let's just say it fired up a lot of debate. Some folks are rallying behind him, even those who typically argue for proof of reserves, but then they hear it from Michael Saylor. Suddenly, proof of reserves isn't such a big deal, at least to his followers. They're not exactly independent thinkers, more like cult-like parrots echoing his words. However, there are plenty of sharp minds out there raising eyebrows saying, guys, this is a giant red flag. And they're right. Something about this doesn't add up. I'm not accusing him of anything illegal, but let's be real. This doesn't pass the sniff test. It's sketchy at best, and I want no part of it. Now, here's the kicker. Dom chimed in, referencing Saylor's comments on proof of reserves, and said it outright. This video only makes Saylor look shadier. His excuses were flimsy, his logic full of holes. And here's where it gets interesting. No one actually knows how Saylor gets his Bitcoin. People speculate, some try to track him in order books, but there's never been solid, reliable evidence. His methods for acquiring remain a mystery. Let me pause for a second to clarify. You won't spot him in exchange order books. Nope, not there. Why? MicroStrategy has openly stated they buy over-the-counter, OTC, bypassing exchanges entirely. These purchases happen through deals with large organizations, and once they're made, they vanish behind the scenes. The moment it's done, you're left in the dark. Now, of course, the blockchain doesn't lie. It's all public. So yes, you can track activity there. But if you're scouring exchange order books, forget it. You won't find a trace. Here's a gem from Saylor himself. People learn from FTX and Mt. Gox. Interesting, right? Then Dom chimes in with, What if FTX had proper proof of reserves? The fraud wouldn't have happened. And he's got a point. Proof of reserve stops misuse of customer funds. The irony is off the charts, isn't it? Wild stuff, folks. He points to FTX as an excuse for not being transparent. But no, FTX is exactly why transparency is non-negotiable. This logic doesn't pass the sniff test. And wait, there's more. So let's dissect this gem. An insecure proof of reserves dilutes security. Really? Has he missed the entire premise of Bitcoin's cryptography? Cracking a private key would take longer than the lifespan of the universe. The only reason to shy away from proof of reserves is if you've got something to hide, or if you think quantum computing is about to knock on the door and you're secretly prepping for it. Let me pause for a reality check. Even if quantum computing were an imminent threat, it wouldn't just impact Bitcoin, it would decimate the entire digital world. Online banking, gone. Social media, poof. Encrypted communication, forget it. If quantum computing arrives tomorrow, we're not just losing Bitcoin, we're losing the internet as we know it. If quantum computing ever becomes a real threat, trust me, Bitcoin will be the least of your worries. At that point, the whole world would be unraveling. So no, I'm not convinced. Now, Dom's point is fair to bring up, of course, but let's be honest, I highly doubt that's his real motivation here. It just doesn't add up. And then there's Dom's analogy, comparing publishing a Bitcoin address to sharing a private key. Come on. That's like saying giving someone your phone number is the same as handing over your unlocked phone. It's just plain wrong. Whether it's a misunderstanding or deliberate misdirection, it completely misses the mark. He says security experts warn against sharing wallets. If that's true, those experts clearly missed the memo on public key cryptography. Bitcoin addresses are designed to be public. It's how the system works. For someone who staked everything on Bitcoin, this was a fumble. You'd expect sharper insight and technical precision from someone in his shoes. Well said. Keeps the mystery alive. A slow clap for that one, Dom. Well said. It's definitely suspicious, and I can't shake the feeling. Something's off. It's just weird. Here's a post from Predator that went viral, 186,000 views and counting. In it, he called out a clip, labeling it a giant red flag. He pointed out that while proof of reserves might raise valid concerns about privacy, it doesn't compromise the security of your coins. Yet, sailors take, either he's hiding something or he's completely clueless about how Bitcoin actually works. What do you think, folks? Is Sailor really that uninformed? Personally, I'm not buying it. Something feels off here. And it definitely doesn't pass the smell test. What's your take? XRP community member Daniel Keller shared a post saying, I am somehow amused. And honestly, it's hard not to see why. The comments are overflowing with people ranting about privacy on a public blockchain. Yes, really, the irony is golden. A firm recently highlighted wallet addresses they suspect are linked to certain strategies. And suddenly people are shouting privacy invasion. But let's be real. It's a public blockchain. Nothing new is being exposed, folks. It's just taking what's already out there and connecting the dots. Then there's this gem from Cyflux. Isn't it ironic that Bitcoin maxis call Ripple scammers, yet Ripple openly shares exactly how much they hold because they prioritize transparency? Meanwhile, we've been warning nonstop about Michael Saylor. Touche, Cyflux. So a guy loses $6 billion in a single day, refuses to disclose details, and somehow avoids being labeled a scammer. Really? Come on, folks. You've got to admit it's shady, right? This whole thing is insane. Now, I'm not saying there's something fishy going on, but if there's truly nothing to hide, why not just come clean? Just list it already. And what's even happening here? Look at this guy. He's wearing his right shoe on his left foot. Why? Seriously, why? You're just going to ruin your shoes, genius. All right, I've got to wrap this up. Let me know your thoughts. But seriously, how wild is this? Ripple has been upfront and transparent from the start, yet here we are dealing with this nonsense. And then you've got these diehard Bitcoin loyalists who defend it no matter what. Honestly, that tells you everything you need to know. The Bitcoin community as a whole is toxic. Just a mess. Count me out. Oh, and just so we're clear, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't make any financial decisions based on what I say. Be a pretty terrible idea.